Greetings, Pine Bluff. I'm Shuna reporting for Pine Bluff News. Today we will be interviewing one of our very own treasures, Mr. OBrennan Moss, also known as Obafemi Karamoko. He also goes by OB. He is a local philanthropist, philosopher, and educator. Today he will be speaking with us on the importance of knowing our own true value. Welcome, OB, to Pine Bluff News. Your work in the community has spoken for itself. But tell us in your own words, what are the biggest problems that Pine Bluff faces?
Thank you for having me, Pine Bluff News, you, Shuna, and Brother Donald. I would say that some of the biggest issues we face as a community, one being for African Americans, I would say self-identity is one of our major problems. Two is we have some deep-rooted self-hate issues, and that spills out in us not being able to work together on different things, building infrastructures for our community, building businesses for our community, and just taking more control of how we process our daily lives as a whole. So
that sounds good in concept, but how do we actually make this come to fruition?
I would say the first thing, it really starts in the home. We have to start a re-education process, and that's not an easy task. It's not an overnight thing. I wouldn't say because we didn't get in this position overnight, but it really starts with a basic understanding of history. It has a lot to do with it, not in just the fascination of history or the romanticizing about some time period in the past, but using past principles in today's settings to make our lives better than they are now.
What exactly do you mean by that? Because our children already spend a good portion of the day at school, and then there's summer school and after school activities, and then church and family time. So what do you mean by education?
Education, I mean across the board education. If we take a look at the economic system and the education system today, you have a direct correlation. A lot of our people are in poverty, and if we were getting a proper education, that shouldn't equal poverty. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm talking about starting in the home, we have to do some reorganizing, reprioritizing what we are doing on a daily basis. Like I say, this is not something that's going to happen overnight, but what we put in our priorities to. If everything that we do is all for instant gratification, we won't be able to build any institutions that's going to take us to that next level or get us out of conditions that a lot of us find ourselves in.
So are you saying that you believe that our problem lies with lack of education, especially in Pine Bluff, where we have a 4-year college and a 2-year community college?
When you say education, okay, in my understanding, education is not universal. Okay, the meaning, I can teach you how to use certain chemicals to put together to make something, a cleaning product, or I can teach you how to put some chemicals together in a different compound and make a bomb. Okay, what are you being educated to do? We have a lot of education. Okay, we have a lot of professionals, people with master's degrees, all types of degrees and certifications. But does that equal success in our community as a whole? All right. You know, people say that we have the talented 10% of our population. They say that black people are anywhere from 30 to 40 million people in America. So 10% of that population, we'll say, are people who have degrees, associates, bachelor's, master's degrees. Outside of that, A lot of us are in that poverty bracket. Even people who have degrees are not finding jobs, not finding employment. So, I mean, across the board, if we look at our education system, either we're not maximizing our potential in the education system, or the education system is failing us.
Is it like that in Pine Bluff? Ask that question.
You mentioned that the education system is failing us. What can we do to improve that system?
Well, in Pine Bluff, well, I'll speak on it. Pine Bluff, for instance, Pine Bluff Public School District is 97, maybe 98% students of African American, African descent, and so the curriculum should equal out or reflect that. And we have a curriculum that says universal or it's multicultural, but the same, I'll say, lies that were taught to my generation, my parents' generation, they're still being taught in the school district. And more of our children are dropping out of school. The standards in the education system are lowered. So we're really at a crisis in the education system. That's just not public school. That's private. That's charter as well. Our education system has to be geared for our success specifically, not just anybody's. Specifically for our success.
Well, tell me what you are doing personally to bring about this change that we so desperately need.
Okay. For one, just reaching out, trying to have relationships with our youth, with the young children. I've coached basketball for a numerous amount of years. I started coaching when I was 16. Something my father, he wanted me to do. I was kind of apprehensive at first, but I did it as a teenager. I refereed ball games, and now I have 3 children of my own. I see the importance of adults being able to spend time with children outside the time that's allocated to their own. Spending time with that child that may not have that father figure or that mother figure or any responsible adult around them in their lives means a lot to a child for an hour or 2 hours or for a weekend. So coaching is one of the things I've done. Working with various community centers, doing art projects, presenting information. Just trying to teach some basic classes about our history, our culture as a people in the past, like I say, and what's going on right now. So those are some of the things that I've been doing thus far. So
has your focus only been with the children?
No, it hasn't. I've done some different things with adults. I just recently had an event based on economics, law, politics, a little politics, and real estate. And it wasn't the largest turnout, but it's a start, because those are some of the topics and issues in the black community that's really not discussed. And if it is, we have very limited knowledge. And then we have sectors of our community who know this but fail to disseminate the information to the greater community. So it has to start somewhere. So I'm not an expert, but what I do know, I'll try to share. If I'm wrong, I'll stand to be corrected. So I'm not trying to be anybody's leader. But if Proverbs says that each one teach one. So I learn, so I teach. That's my purpose. So I'm trying to stay on task.
Well, your dedication to community has been outstanding, to say the least. Have you done any seminars or workshops dealing with health or other African needs?
Yes, I've done just some basic workshops dealing with herbs, dealing with health, things we should eat, shouldn't eat, the the health factors that deals with a lot of our diets, or we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet, that I would say is it's taking a major toll on our community, and the toll it also takes on the environment is one thing I think that's really not seen to the larger community, because if people really understood the way our eating habits affect the earth itself, the planet itself, from our natural resources, we would make better choices. So yes, I've did some speaking engagements in Little Rock and Pine Bluff as well, dealing with health. So yeah.
Well, concerning the natural aspect, a lot of African Americans have now gone for the natural look and hair. Do you see that as a rebellion, or do you see it as a cultural awareness?
I think it's mixed. I think it's on a lot of different levels. I would say, for one, I think it's definitely time that a lot of our people are starting to revert back to their natural selves in many different aspects, but definitely the hair is one of the key points. You know, the hair is on top of the head, which covers the brain. So to me, it's very significant to want to, for us, as we say, go back natural, but we were born natural. You know, so there's something that has been put into us to go away from who we are, and some reason we're getting back to that. For some people, I think it is just a fashion. It's still it's an accessory. Some people see hair as an accessory, but the deeper you get into our history and understand what it is, you know, it's a part of your body, just like, you know, your hands or your spleen or liver. It serves a direct purpose. All right. Peace, greetings, Brother OB. Some of you know me as OBrennan Moss, Obafemi Karamoko, Mr. Moss. Just wanted to speak a minute about, you know, why I'm here. What's my purpose? Sometimes you're gonna catch me in the community. You know, I'm called a lot of different things. You know, from weirdo to hey, something wrong with that guy, but hey, that's me, and I don't have a problem with that. On this journey, I found myself going back to, we would say, our roots, like the movie Roots, and it's occurred to me that the further we've gotten away from our root, the worse off our condition has gotten. And for us to get back what we've lost or what's been stolen, I'm speaking stolen, I'm talking about our culture, our heritage. For some people, just wrap it all up and say our heritage, but that's language, the food you eat, the way you relate to your women, children, how you raise your children, the education process, economic process, the way our thought process, simply, I mean, the way we dress, the way we act, all of that's encompassed in culture. Now, we are African people in America speaking English. I guarantee you, English people are not in England speaking the African language. So that in itself lets me know something's wrong. All right. So the importance of my purpose for being here is to help correct the wrongs, or to expose some of the lies that we've been taught, generation after generation after generation. All right. My divine purpose for being on the planet is to be a teacher. And that's what I found out in my late 20s. And I've tried to stay on purpose since then. And I continue on this purpose until the Creator, takes me off the planet or recycles me. So, I'm in the community. I really like to work with children because the children have our strongest hope for turning this thing around for our people. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. But the children are the key. All right, because the children's minds are, like a sponge. They're malleable, so they can be shaped and molded into the way which we want to go. But if the adults don't know which way to go, where will we guide the children to? If you look in our society, our communities, you see what the children are doing. That's a direct reflection on the adults and the society we live in. So we can't at the end of the day say what's wrong with the children. We have to say, what's wrong with me first? Alright, so I had to work on correcting self before I can try to point out anything in anybody else and offer my advice. So that's a constant battle, constant struggle within self. And like I said, I'm in this for the long haul. So I want to thank Shuna Howard for the interview. Thank Brother Donald, Pine Bluff News, for this time. And I say peace.